viewed to be the best.
The pulse is quickening in South Florida. Time to stock up on supplies, board up homes, and in some cases, leave town. A hurricane is on its way. Hurricane George is pulling slowly away from Haiti. Next stop, Cuba, with plenty of opportunity to build strength on its way to Florida. Good morning and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Marnie Stanier. As George continues its advance, we'll outline what's ahead for the southeastern states, plus the current stateside conditions. Dallas has a chance for an isolated storm later. Chicago will have partly cloudy skies. Boston sunny, and like much of the Northeast, breezy. But first, for the latest on George, let's go to Bruce Edwards in the Forecast Center.
Thanks, Marnie, and good morning, everyone. Yes, Hurricane George spent the evening over the island of Hispaniola and did cause big major problems there that we'll talk about in just a few moments. Now emerging out over the waters of the Windward Passage between Cuba and Hispaniola. The latest observation from the National Hurricane Center as of 5 a.m. Eastern Time had George centered at 19.5 north, 73.3 west, or approximately 620 miles southeast of Miami, Florida. It still maintained minimal hurricane strength as it moved over the island, and it is a minimal hurricane at 75 miles per hour. However, now that it's emerging over the warmer waters, it could definitely increase in strength over the next 12 to 24 hours. It continues to move west-northwest at 14. It hasn't deviated a whole lot from that track since it began. Central pressure 986 millibars. Now, we do have hurricane warnings out for the Dominican Republic and Haiti. They continue, as well as the Turks and the Caicos Islands, as well as the southeast and central Bahamas under hurricane warnings in eastern Cuba. Now, hurricane watches are posted for west central Cuba, the northwest Bahamas, and as you get into Florida now this morning, the Hurricane Center has issued hurricane watches both east and western coastal sections of Florida, and including the Florida Keys. Now on the west coast from Bonita Beach, south of Bonita Beach, on down through the Keys, hurricane watches posted, and from Deerfield Beach south, including the Keys, Monroe, Dade, Broward County, all under hurricane watches at the present time. Now, winds from this system are hurricane force out over the Windward Passage here, but tropical storm force winds still being felt at the Dominican Republic, all of Haiti, and even eastern portions of Cuba as the system continues to move on. Now, as it worked its way on through the island of Hispaniola, it had a significant impact on the islands. For example, in the Dominican Republic, 12 people were reported killed. 80% of the roads near the capital were impassable. Shelters were not open, unfortunately, until the storm was at its height. Santo Domingo reported some looting, street violence, and curfew violations. Now on the island, or the country of Haiti, little money is available for emergency assistance. Reports of only about $130,000 in this poor country. Drainage systems, of course, antiquated and unable to handle the flash flooding as a result of very intense rainfall that occurred with this system. And again, it's still too early to even assess the total impact on the islands because it's just coming off the island right now. Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert, joins us this morning. And again, we've seen some of the rainfall totals over Puerto Rico that have been astounding.
Now they have upwards of 20 inches to 25 inches over the higher mountains, and I would imagine that over the Dominican Republic they could be at least that high, even possibly higher, because the hurricane slowed down just a little bit as it passed through that area. We'll have to wait and see to get the reports, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we get the information.
Are you a little surprised that it still maintained hurricane status? I mean, we were talking about the 10,000-foot peaks on the island of Hispaniola, and yet it is still a hurricane?
Well, that is a little surprising. It's always questionable over islands on how intense they're going to be because a certain portion of the circulation is still over water. And so even though the Dominican Republic has a much larger size than Puerto Rico, it still wasn't enough to keep it under control.
Well, the track of George has been remarkably consistent since its onset, and the strike probabilities show that South Florida and the Keys still in that red zone, the high strike probability zone.
Absolutely. It's been on a pretty straight line here, but we do expect it to take a more northward turn, generally toward the Keys in South Florida, and that turn should occur within the next 12 to 18 hours or so.
Well, we mentioned that tropical storm force winds being felt over eastern portions of Cuba, and on the island of Cuba, preparations are underway, but right now, again, eastern parts of Cuba are starting to feel the effects. Last-minute preparations in Cuba for the arrival of George. 5 provinces on the eastern end of the island are under a state of emergency. Buildings being boarded up and secured, workers clearing streets of brush and debris that could become deadly projectiles as the winds pick up. As we have reports from Guantanamo province and from Guantanamo Bay. That is a possibility. Now, South Florida has already begun their preparations for the situation with Hurricane George, and Jim Cantori of the Weather Channel has been stationed down in Key Biscayne, Florida, and he gives us a report on the situation as the sun is coming up in South Florida this morning. Jim?
That's right, Bruce. As we typically see out ahead of a hurricane, a beautiful morning here in Miami. We're right here at Key Biscayne looking across the bay at the beautiful downtown area of Miami, Florida. But I'll tell you, the hurricane watch, in my opinion, was just a formality. People here were making preparations for the last couple of days. And let me show you some of the pictures here. First, yesterday into the Keys, where Key West had what we call a phase evacuation, and folks were heading out. As a matter of fact, even as of 11 o'clock last night, there was still wall-to-wall traffic on US 1, the only route out. So that's very, very important that if you're going to evacuate there, why hesitate? I mean, just go ahead and do it right now. And in Miami, loads of plywood have actually been brought in because of the demand. And even as of last night, midnight, there was an hour-and-a-half wait to leave some of the hardware stores in South Dade County as a result of the demand for the plywood. You're looking again this morning at pictures of the sun rising up and the planes beginning to land here at Miami International. Just a beautiful morning as we would typically see, but unfortunately a lot of work is needed to be done today in the preparation phase, and given the seriousness that the folks have taken already, Bruce, I would not be surprised if that continues as we speak. Back to you.
From Key Biscayne, we'll be checking with Jim throughout the morning on the situation and the preparations being made in South Florida. Now, Dr. Lyons, as we are watching the hurricane was over the island, it's now coming out over the Northwest Passage over warm waters, and this is where we could see some interesting developments.
Yeah, we've already started to see a formation of a western eye wall, or not really necessarily an eye wall yet, but at least a considerable banding structure here on the western side that's spiraling into the center of the circulation. Here you see the circulation basically in the clear, and notice that big red and orange mass that's formed there. As soon as it gets back over water, it has a chance to take off. That's what it's doing.
And as we see on the larger scale projection, we're looking at a slight northwest turn. We could see, again, and that turn would be very, very significant in the development of the system.
It sure would. And of course, it's still some uncertainty out in the 72-hour time frame, 48 to 72-hour time frame here. It could go a little more west, it could go a little more north, but either way, the Keys look like they're going to be under the gun.
All right, thank you, Dr. Steve Lyons, with that information. We'll have continuous updates all throughout the day, so check back with us often. But of course, you have to work for a living, and if you go to the office, check us out on the internet at weather.com for the latest information. Now, Marnie has a look at your first day of fall all across the 48 contiguous United States. Marnie?
Thanks so much, Bruce. And it's a quiet one out there. A lot of clear skies.
A fitting experience since 1946. Corella Shoes, 2431 Nottingham Way, near the 5 Points intersection in the heart of Mercerville.
Put your money in hands you can trust at Parkway Financial Community Federal Credit Union. With a 50-year presence in Ewing Township, we are now open to the entire community. A credit union is a not-for-profit financial institution which provides financial services to its members. If you live, work, worship, or attend school in Ewing Township, we are here to serve you. Stop by and see how Parkway Financial Community Federal Credit Union can fill your financial needs. Parkway Financial Community is your avenue to financial security. Savings insured by the NCUA, a U.S. government agency.
Unexpected weather can really mess up your day, and preparing people for it is our business. Business is good.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.